keep a secret. Some people don't like forest school. Hi, I'm Lou, and this is Lily Rowe, who's having a sleep again. So last week we had our February Community Connection call, and the theme was New Beginnings. And one of the things we were reflecting on was about how do we facilitate new beginnings at Forest School. So we were thinking about how do we grow trust and co-create culture and help people tune in to the woodlands, all that stuff we do at the beginning of a Forest School programme. And one of the things that was discussed was around building a sense of security and helping the learners feel safe and secure both physically and emotionally as well, building trust and a sense of relationship. And it struck me that one of the things that is crucial to building trust and to building a sense of security is making sure there's consistency with all of the adults that are kind of part of the Forest School programme, particularly the helpers that are there at the sessions, because of course if one adult has a certain value judgment that's different to, say, the Forest School leader, it can be very confusing and unsettling for the children or the young people who are at the Forest School programme. And so I thought I might make this video to share some tips about how we can communicate the Forest School ethos, our value judgments, and kind of what we're trying to achieve. Because in my experience, communication is like the hardest thing at Forest School. Like, it's by far the thing that I've had the most difficulty with, and in worst case scenarios has actually impeded or even stopped a Forest School programme from taking place. So communication, getting communication right, is kind of key to successful Forest School from my experience. So I thought I would share with you just 4 tips for communication at Forest School. Tip 1 is start early. It's never too early to start communicating about Forest School, in my opinion. So even if you're not sure of exactly what's happening at your Forest School, start to try and make contacts with different stakeholders, start sowing seeds and drip feeding what you're going to be doing about Forest School ethos, about the benefits of Forest School, because from my experience it can take quite a long time for people to understand and accept the Forest School ethos. So yeah, start early, and certainly before you start running your programme, because good communication early on will really smooth the way so that you don't encounter challenges or barriers once you start running stuff with the kids. So yeah, start early. Tip 2 is to have a plan. So part of doing the level 3 qualification in Forest School leadership is to create a communication strategy. So plan who you're going to talk to and how you're going to talk to them, and what information in particular they might be interested in, and kind of map that all out so that you don't miss anyone, and so you can kind of get it clear in your mind. What's the most valuable bit of information that I want to share with that particular person? Because there could be all sorts of people that need to know about what you're going to be doing at Forest School. Other staff in your school or setting, the landowner that you're going to be using the land for. There might be local community that use the land as well. The children or young people, of course, the participants, their parents and wider families. There could be all sorts of people that we need to talk to about running our Forest School. So in order to put that all in one place, make yourself a plan, and then you won't kind of miss anything. tip number 3 is to provide evidence. So particularly if the people you're trying to talk to have different value judgments to you around outdoors and play-based learning, then it can be really useful to be able to signpost to research, evaluative reports, science that backs up the benefits of what we do out here. Because sometimes if they don't listen to you, they'll listen to other people and experts. So that can help shift people's understanding and see that there is evidence out there for what we do. And of course there is a whole wealth of evidence coming out at the moment around the benefits of being in nature in terms of mental health, in terms of physical health, and around how play facilitates learning in a good way too. So tip number 4 is to listen with compassion. So here's the thing, not everybody thinks the same as us, and some people really don't like the idea of a forest school because it's perhaps way out of their comfort zone. You know, being outside, being play-based, non-judgmental, potentially rubs up against existing paradigms in education, and you might experience people who have a lot of resistance to that sort of idea and that sort of approach. And you know, at worst case scenario, I've had people who have been very, very upset about forest school to the point of being, well, quite rude and aggressive actually. So we need to listen to these people. To anyone really that we're talking to, deeply listen. So it's an opportunity to practice those skills of forest school leadership in terms of active listening and identifying the needs that sit underneath a person's emotions and behaviour. Because all behaviour is driven by needs ultimately. And what I've noticed is often with the people who get very upset about, whether it's a parent and their child's getting muddy, or whether it's a class teacher who, doesn't like the idea of being non-judgmental and wants to use sanctions and rewards. Like, what's often underneath this is fear. There's the emotion is fear, and the need is, perhaps safety and security, which of course I started this video by saying that good communication with people allows for that sense of safety and security. It's just we need to recognise that people try to get safety and security in different ways and using different approaches. And from my experience, fear tends to limit things, tends to try to get people to control things more. Even if they can't control them, they'll still try to control them. And whether that's children outside, or whether that's some bigger picture thing, then the need to control helps people, give them an illusion of safety and security, because, well, I guess maybe they think it's better to be doing something than nothing. Anyway, that's bigger stuff. And the world is a scary place. There is, genuine things to be worried about. I'm turning on the news today, which, they've just announced that Russia is invading Ukraine. There might be some genuine reason for fear, but those things are beyond my control. So perhaps not worrying about those things is important. But coming back to forest school is. So if somebody's in fear, and we recognise that because, they're upset with us, we need to listen compassionately. So rather than reacting to them attacking us, verbally, you know, and like attacking our value judgments, we need to recognise that if we react back and kind of argue, that's not going to be conducive in the long term. It's not going to build relationships, and ultimately is going to impede the progress of the forest school programme and the children, young people who are part of it. So listen with compassion, recognising the needs if there is fear in those people that we're communicating with, and then providing information, evidence, acknowledging their feelings, all of those sorts of things. A gentle way of kind of sharing our value judgments. And in that way we build relationship and we understand where the other person's coming from, so that we can work with them to find some common ground, rather than be at loggerheads with them. Yeah, and in my experience, when forest school programs have worked well and become truly embedded as part of, say, a school curriculum, has been when communication has been good and gentle and yeah, acknowledging each other, give and take, and finding ways to work around things, rather than extreme points of view being kept extreme and you know, no compromise. So yes, listen with compassion, I think, is quite important at all levels of forest school. Do you have more tips for how to communicate effectively at forest school? Do let me know in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed this video, do give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel so you can join us again in the woods next time. And thanks for watching. Communication is vital for success. Give stakeholders evidence and the rest. Compassionate listening is the key so you can build relationships and head to the trees. That was really